following program is a presentation of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio in iTunes. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market. From unusual activity alerts to market updates and trading strategies. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block. With your host, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com and co-hosts Mike Tusaw from KnowYourOptionsInc.com and Mark Sebastian from OptionPit.com. The Option Block is brought to you by Options Express. Don't spend time worrying about your broker. At Options Express, security, stability, and account protection are the most important responsibilities to our customers. Secure account access, enhanced financial protection, entrusted with over $7 billion in customer assets, established financial stability. Options Express lets you trade with confidence. Stocks, options, and futures, all in one account. Trade with a specialist. Visit optionsexpress.com/OXradio to open your free account. Options Express is a member of FINRA, SIPC, and NFA.
Welcome back to the Option Block, and I hope all of our listeners out there had a great holiday weekend. My name is Mark Longo, and I am your host for this meandering roundtable through the world of options. I am joined, as usual, by our Option Block crew here, starting off with the man from the mountains himself, none other than Uncle Mike Tusaw. Uncle Mike, how was your holiday weekend, sir?
Oh, it was great. It was great. I have to say this, though, just upon being married with kids, going to all the different family parties over the weekends, it's a lot of fun. But come Monday, you have quite the candy hangover, I'm finding, from all this Easter candy that my son shouldn't be eating.
So if you don't never see an egg again for another year, an Easter egg, you'll be a happy man.
Well, no, I got to go home and go right back to the dog that bit me, I think.
You dive right back in. Of course, you never.
That's right.
How can you get sick of a good Cadbury cream egg? You know, that's just delightful, sir.
See, I like the Cadbury caramel eggs almost better.
That says a lot about you right there, you know.
I like them both.
You can define a man by which Easter egg he chooses.
Do you know what's great about Easter is you get those Dove dark chocolate eggs, and then you don't have to go out and buy dark chocolate to eat with your red wine and cheese. You know?
Yes, indeed, for all of my dark chocolate and red wine parties.
Yeah, there you go. Well, that's kind of what you're known for.
It is.
Wine, chocolate, cheese, crackers. That's kind of the. Isn't that the Longo MO, or the Long O, as I like to call it?
I've often said you can tell a man by his wine of choice and, of course, his Easter confection of choice. And so once you know those two, you can pretty much pigeonhole a person any way you want to go.
That's good to know. Now I know.
So your caramel egg choice, sir, puts you in a very bizarre category. Let us just say that. And listeners, of course, that is none other than the greasy meatball himself, Mark Sebastian, from OptionPit.com. Mr. Sebastian, I take it your weekend was full of caramel eggs?
Yeah, we took my kid to breakfast with the Easter Bunny at the Walnut Room in downtown Chicago.
And was it just a horror show? Was he screaming?
It was hilarious. I mean, and maybe I might be the only parent that was dying laughing as his kid fell apart crying while the Easter Bunny held him. But I was. It was very funny.
Somehow it doesn't surprise me. My little guy is not a big fan of the bunny either. Of course, in their defense, it's a freakish thing. It's an enormous, weird-headed bunny creature that's holding them.
My question is, who likes these things? What kid have you met that likes these bunnies? And
my daughter loves the Easter Bunny. My daughter loves them. Yes. It is unbelievable. She loves the Easter Bunny.
Oh, we found one.
And how old is she?
She is 2.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, she is 2.
She's the odd one out then, I guess.
No kidding.
I guess so, yeah.
Talk about an outlier.
I had to make a deal with my little guy. I told him that we would get the presents from the Easter Bunny so that he wouldn't come into the house.
Well, she's probably so used to seeing her dad wrestle down bears that she's not afraid of bunnies anymore.
There you go.
That's the offshoot of that mountain lifestyle that you lead, sir. Mm-hmm. Come out of your cabin once in a while, and then you'll see how the other half of us live. And we will be joined in progress by the Options Express crew. So with that, we will dive right into the old trading block.
The trading block.
And welcome to the Trading Block. This is the section of the show where we discuss what was lighting up the tape for us today and what was moving the markets. And in general, it was a relatively quiet day in the broad markets. S&P closed down 2 points. The Dow closed down 26 points. The NASDAQ closed up nearly 6 points. And the VIX Cash, good old VIX Cash, popping back from its long weekend of decay, closed up a little over a point to 1577 or 7.4% change on the day. And of course, as we are speaking, the Netflix earnings are coming out. So let's see. Oh yeah, it looks like they're down a little bit. So they close at 251 and they're trading 245 in the after hours. So nothing near what we've seen. Yeah, nothing near what we've seen. If you saw what that straddle went out, I think like $24 in the weekly. So
right. Yeah, I mean that's.
They've learned to price in a ridiculous move now with Netflix, and if you were, so far obviously it's still early, but if you were a straddle holder in this, there were dollar bids up, 40 points out in every direction on this thing. People were expecting another 30 to 40 point handle run, and so far we're getting a relatively mild sell-off. This is the case. If it opens up around this range 245 tomorrow, it's going to be a nice vol implosion over in Netflix land.
There'll be some happy market makers, or maybe there won't. I wouldn't be shocked if this is the one time that nobody came to.
Exactly. This is the one time everyone said, you know what? I'm going to put a few straddles in my back pocket because this damn thing moves 40 handles a clip, and it's going to go out at 245.
Yeah, exactly. No, you know it.
So you get burned one too many times. These guys have been selling, 20% out of the money puts and calls forever and getting crushed. And they said, finally, you know what? I'm going to go with the train this time. And the train has abandoned them, it appears. They missed the train at the station this time. So that's some of the larger news we have going on. We'll keep an eye on that throughout the show. But so far, looking like Netflix earnings are a relatively tepid affair. And of course, a lot of action today on the commodity front, so I'll let you guys just dive right into it. Uncle Mike, what were you watching in the commodity rundown today?
Well, of course, silver's the big story of the day, I think. Last night, silver was actually up a couple bucks last night even. So apparently the Easter Bunny went long a bunch of silver futures while he was out doing his candy runs or whatever. But yeah, that was the big thing today. Silver ran up. I saw SLV topped out at 47 today, and then it pulled back quite a bit. I mean, it still ended positive on the day. There was a lot of volume on SLV. I'm seeing 188 million shares traded on it, and I think that's the big story for today. This is it's markets like this to where it's exciting to watch, but you got to be careful and you got to know what you're doing on it.
Yeah, silver is one of those markets where smart traders make a lot of money off of dumb traders. And, I think this is one of those classic cases where, an overeager public gets themselves in a lot of trouble and loses a nice chunk of change. So gold vol through the roof as well today, Mike. I don't know if you saw it. Not nearly at the level of silver, but, commodities across the board, we're seeing big pops in implied volatility. So,
yeah, because even oil had a similar move to that too. Oil, actually, I'm seeing in the oil contracts, oil went up and went down. It was a very similar movement that it popped up and then it's coming down throughout the day today.
I wonder if there's some sort of program buy that did something, or was there some sort of blip, or was this just a bunch of really, really overeager general public out buying stuff?
Yeah, what's interesting is the silver futures were up a lot last night. And who buys silver on Easter evening? That's what I want to know.
The Hunt brothers are back, baby. They're coming, and they're coming over Easter weekend.
They must be.
The fix is in. You didn't hear?
You didn't catch the Pope's sermon? The Pope said, "Peace in Libya and buy silver futures." You didn't hear him say that?
I missed it.
That was, if you'd have caught his Easter homily, you would have heard that. He slipped that in between discussing, forgiving sins and world peace. He also said, "And I'm a huge silver bull." So
God is on his side in this case. At least it appears to be, because if God wasn't on the side of silver, this thing would not be rolling the way it has been over the past couple of months. It's amazing. Amazing that the conversation has moved from the 26 handle to the mid-40s handle, and people are talking about the 60 handle before May expiration in some of these. Look at just in some of the open interest we're seeing. It's insane. I know we were talking before recording that, just how much upside is going on in these names. It is absolutely amazing.
It reminds me of the tech bubble, like kind of tech in 1999,
No, this time it's for real.
So people are just coming up to you and saying, they buy a stock and you ask them why, and they just say, "I don't care, it's .com, it doesn't matter." And they're saying the same thing, "I don't care, they're somehow involved in silver, so I'll buy them."
Well,
Right.
I'm thinking about the volatility structure. I mean, the volatility structure is exactly the same as names like Yahoo and Microsoft and some of those names when, in 1999 with that huge sloping upside volatility. So, real interesting.
Anything else you guys want to hit on before we roll out of the old trading block?
Yeah, the other thing I was noticing was that we saw the VIX increase, but actual forward value of the VIX contract fell today. So there is some perception that forward volatility is not going to be as high as a lot of people are thinking. So that was actually one thing I was noticing. A lot of people don't pay attention to that, but leading out on Thursday night, the spread between VIX and VIX futures in May was almost 5 points. Today it shrunk to under 4. So, and I kind of think that spread's going to continue to tighten up.
That's interesting because it's been such a premium for so long now in those futures. I know. We've been waiting for that to kind of contract a bit, and maybe it's finally happening.
Yeah, and gold and interesting GVZ gold volatility futures, gold volatility forward futures are actually in backwardation right now. So, just one thing I noticed is that GVZ is actually higher than the forward volatility right now.
Obviously, those things are brand spanking new. But have you seen any numbers going up in that thing at all? They getting any volume?
No. But if there are going to be numbers in this thing, the next couple of days are going to drive it. So
yeah, I mean, this would be the perfect time to be to be diving into a product like that.
Mm-hmm. So, and then we're going to see SVZ as well as if GVZ takes off. No, I'm just looking, and let's see if there was any volume today. Not a lot. Just we saw a put buyer in GVZ, probably a smart trade. And that was about it. Nothing crazy yet.
That's going to do it for the old trading block, and we're going to roll right into the odd block.
The Odd Block.
And welcome to the Odd Block. This is the section of the show where we discuss the interesting and or unusual options activity that's lighting up the tape for us today. And there was a definite theme to the activity today in that the bulk of it was earnings related. Everyone's putting on size, either bullish or bearish positions ahead of some announcement here or there. So not too much in-depth navel-gazing required on a lot of the trades we're seeing going up today. But we're going to start it off with an interesting one that isn't directly earnings related. This one is Network Appliance Inc., NTAP. They close at $51.94, up 92 cents. This is the name that does about 13,000 contracts a day. They did almost 30,000 today. And this name, as their name implies, they provide enterprise storage and data management hardware and software. And we saw some pretty large prints going up. And what makes this not an earnings play is that these were all long-dated trades. These were leaps for the most part. We saw the stock got an outperform upgrade today. So with a And the 12-month target, we know how much we love analysts here, but the 12-month target they put on it was $64, so a substantial premium to where it's trading right now, about nearly 30%. And so it looks like we're seeing some people diving in after that upgrade, and we saw size risk reversal going up out here where they sold 5,500 of the Jan 2013 45 puts. They sold those for $574, and then they bought the same number, 5,500 of the Jan 2013 55 calls, paid $8.09 for that, so that works out to $2.35 a pop. So this guy's obviously, the thing's got to run well up, looks like about 10% from where it is here, given the prices they got in on this thing for this guy to break even around the 57.5 range or so. So he's got a better part of a year for that to take place. And it looks like this guy is jumping in. And of course, this is all opening paper. The open interest on these strikes was negligible before these 5,500 lots went up. So, good.
Interesting. I was actually talking to somebody that works for Network Appliance, and the employees love the company as far as a bullish play. It's interesting.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's
because when you see long dated stuff like this, your mind immediately jumps to an insider or someone who has something like that and wants to put on a long stated claim in this one.
Yeah, people that are working with this company really, really like the company, like the stock price a lot, which is interesting. It's not that the guy didn't even say I like working for Network Appliance. He said I like our stock price here.
Really?
So yeah.
Maybe he knew what circles you ran in. He knew it would appeal to you.
But it's interesting. Anytime I get an employee that comes out and brings up something like that, I'm always kind of, it makes my ears point up. I didn't do, full disclosure, I never did anything on that information. I ignored it.
You're full of it. This 5,500 lot, we know it's you. I know it's a little small. You're scaling back your size, so people won't know it's you.
But I did find it interesting. I found it really interesting that he loved the stock that much.
Well, yeah, obviously that sentiment is shared by this person today because he put on a size, and we talk a lot about bullish risk reversals. It's a good way to put on a nice bullish play and mitigate your investment and your exposure. And if you like this one the way apparently the employees and this one size trader does, then NTAP is the one to watch. Network Appliance Inc.
I like this is one where we have one person. We have a very small position in this for one person, and I think I like this company as well. I think at this level, you look at it just over the course of the last year or so, it's been above the 60 level. It's at the 50 level now. It's not one of the ones to. It's not like a Citigroup to where it was at 50. Now it's at 5, but it's pulled back to some pretty nice levels. Fundamentally, they're pretty strong, and I like this stock too.
I'd be real interested to see whether there's some correlation between people that own company stock in a taxable account and the stock's performance. Do you get the differentiation there? Like they're buying in their 401k where their companies.
Yeah, that's more long-term money. They can't really mess around with it as much. They're limited in what they can do with it.
Yeah, I'd be real interested to see whether rank and file employees owning company stock in a taxable account has any type of bearing on, is any type of indicator on the stock performance in general.
You think it would make a nice support level or something like that, or just general?
I think it would be a nice it might be a bullish indicator.
Yeah, because in theory, the employees should know it better than anybody.
Exactly. So
yeah, I guess it depends obviously on the size of the company and the float, but yeah, I mean that could be an interesting one to watch. Good luck digging up that information, getting up listings of who are the shareholders / employees. But it's an interesting one nonetheless, and this is why I like tossing out names sometimes on this show, because a name like NTAP I expected to get very little on this one, but it turns out one of you has a client and one of you just talked to somebody who has it, so it's always fun to bandy about even some of the more obscure names on this show. Speaking of obscure,
this isn't any RDN or anything like that. This is just little old Network Appliance.
You gotta love RDN. That's our bread and butter name.
God forbid we talk about a company that people have heard of for once. So
what would be the fun
would that be?
What would be the fun of that? And speaking of names no one's ever heard of, Goodyear Tire. GT.
Hey there, it's
That's the next name up on the old option block. A little name, you may have heard of them. I believe they make blimps. And
I was about to make that exact same. Yeah.
That's scary. That's scary when I'm on the Sebastian wavelength now. I need to. I'm doing too many shows with you, sir.
I know.
This one closed at $16.23, up 27 cents. And we saw a lot of bulls flocking in ahead of the earnings. The earnings are coming out on Friday for this one. And looks like pretty much the bulk of all the activity today was upside calls. This is the name that does 6,500 contracts a day. Lately, they did nearly 22,000 today. Call to put ratio 6-1. So people were loving the upside calls. The May 17 seemed to be the strike du jour. They did 15,000 almost contracts on the day. Oof. The bulk of those, nearly 13,000 were, the previous open interest before this was just 950. So a lot of opening upside bullish paper on this guy. They picked them up. The bulk of them went up for about 40 cents. So these are already winners then, just given the size of the volume going up and the increase in the vol on that strike. Mm-hmm. This one's looking, like I said, just upside bulls coming in ahead of earnings. These obviously need some decent upside to pay back, about 1740, obviously, so not that high.
Yeah, 10%.
Yeah, and looks like the applied vol gapped up to about 13% off this trading. So, yeah, not too much navel gazing on this one, except for the fact that the bulls love Goodyear tire. Apparently, it's a good time to be making blimps.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'll tell you what. This Friday, they better be ready because that's when the rubber's going to hit the road.
I love it. Mike, what do you think about selling the May 17s instead of buying it? Selling the May 17 puts instead of buying the calls, with the vol up, and it still lets you get bearish. You collect a ton of premium on a rally. Might make. I know it's essentially the same thing, but as selling the calls, but it might make some sense here, don't you think? Or selling the May 16 puts. That'd be another interesting.
Always better to come in on the tail end of a massive buy, and instead of following the herd to sell on the other side of that, at least take some of the lift they've given you today and put that in your pocket.
That's what I definitely feel more comfortable doing that side of it. And Goodyear, I don't have any client. I don't know the stock intimately, but that's one to where I'd be comfortable owning it. And with that little bit of a bounce, I think that would definitely be something to consider if you like the stock.
My understanding is that's the official tire of Optimus Prime too. So it's got to roll. It's got to go north from here.
Hey, is it just me? My son is becoming a Transformer junkie lately. Are those things like a million times harder to transform now than they were back in the 80s when we played with them?
No, they were impossible in the 80s too.
Yeah.
So.
See, I don't remember them being that hard back when I was a kid.
I think you had more free time to sit down and stare at the instruction manual and figure out how to get Jetfire's head out of his engine and all the other fun stuff you had to do.
Yeah, I mean, Starscream was really hard to transform. Megatron and Optimus Prime weren't that bad.
Optimus Prime, you just pulled him off his trailer and you were good to go.
And basically flipped out the head and you were good. Megatron wasn't that bad either, but the airplanes and cars could be really...
like Bumblebee. Holy cow.
Yeah.
I take it the Easter Bunny brought by a few Transformers this weekend?
Yeah, it's over the last couple of weeks. So he shifted from monster trucks to Transformers now. So we got him a transforming monster truck.
Oh, nice.
Wow. Best of both worlds.
You know what else you got? You got a house guest. Guess who's coming over after
You're talking Sebastian's language now. You throw a few slinkies into the mix, and he's never going to leave.
I know. I'm not in my office today, so I don't have Slinkies in front of me. It's kind of annoying.
But now are these like original looking G1, as they say, Transformers? Or are these like Michael Bay movie tie-in Transformers?
They're the newer generation. It's not like I remembered it. I think they were easier to transform. I remember having no difficulty with transforming them as a kid. So maybe it was just more free time. I don't know. But man, these things have got my number. It takes me about a half hour to transform.
How much money would they print? Maybe they have, I don't know. But would they print, though, Hasbro, whoever owns this license, if they went back and just recast all the molds of those original 80s ones and remade those again?
Every once in a while.
Do they? Have they re-released like original G1 Optimus Prime and stuff?
Mm-hmm. And they do exceedingly well when they do that, is my understanding.
That's just a license to print money, I would think. I mean, look, guys like you got to have at least 3 Optimus Primes on your desk, I would think.
Minimum. That's my rule. Well, what else I won't if I didn't have Optimus Primes on my desk, how would I have robots to fight when I'm not doing anything?
Before we go too far down the Transformers rabbit hole, which, by the way, that should be the next show on my network, because that would be huge. We could talk about it for days. How to
Transformers block.
A Transformers block.
There we go.
I'm sure there's definitely a huge segment of our audience right now is like, keep going, keep talking. All right.
More Transformers talk.
More Transformers talk. Transformers Weekly. All right. And we're going to close out the old odd block with another silly one. Bon-Ton Stores, Inc., BONT. They closed at $13.38, down 33 cents. And I figured if anyone, Mr. Retail Sebastian would know this one. And this is a department store operator. They're down a little bit today. These looks like, despite the drop in the stock, the bulls are out in this one as well. This is the name that does, brace yourselves for this. This is the name that does an average daily volume of 160 contracts a day.
I know.
They did 6,500 today, though, so there we go.
This is a regional Midwest store located in kind of Michigan and Ohio and that whole area. Kind of the last of its kind, kind of the independent retailer, independent large Macy's-type retailer not owned by one of those big, huge corporations. There's a huge short squeeze on Bon-Ton right now. There's a ton of short entrants. They're in Michigan, aren't they? My wife says that Bon-Ton's not in Michigan. I know they're in Ohio, though.
I figured you would know your obscure retail, sir. That's why
they're in Rockford, Illinois, as well. So
take a look at the volume on this guy.
Huge short interest on this company. But the October's probably kind of a the October sounds like either a short squeeze, somebody covering a short, and then there's a lot of rumors out there of an LBO, or I could actually see a Macy's coming in and scooping this up, if anything, just to eliminate competition. But I know Bon-Ton's in a few spots that maybe Macy's isn't. And, probably about the same level store. I don't think Bon-Ton's any nicer or less nice than in your average Macy's. So would be a good fit there. Although I don't know how much cash Macy's has laying around right now.
Yeah, they're slinging days maybe behind them. But this looks like it.
Have you been in a Macy's?
Just the one downtown on Michigan Avenue.
That one's not bad, but the ones at like Oak Brook and Old Orchard, actually a lot of them, there's too much clothes. If that's possible, it almost looks cluttered, and it like I don't feel comfortable there. It doesn't have the kind of there's too much stuff, and so if the Macy's people are listening, hey, maybe a little less product, but a little more focus on quality of product.
I'm telling you,
suggestion from me.
You missed your calling as a retail and Transformer/80s toy analyst.
My dream job is to be a toy buyer for a Toys R Us or a Walmart or a Target. That would be my dream job.
That would be probably a dream job for you. Either that or your side gig of managing the mini metals.
That I'm already living that dream. So.
Living the dream, sir. And of course, before we get too far afield here, we should talk about what actually is trading in here, and that is, of course, 6,400 of the OC-15s went up today at a price of $1.70. That seems a wee bit rich, but I guess they this has come off a bit since then. But yeah, so this guy, obviously, like I said, it could be a short squeeze. It probably is someone looking to position for an LBO down the road or a takeover notice, or someone just a long-term bull in this one, thinking the days of Bon-Ton are not behind them. And
I think it's got to be an LBO deal. I mean, they're perfect for that type of deal. Somebody to get them up, get them working, get them profitable, and then flip them to somebody. It makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. All right. And then with that, we're going to close out the old odd block. I thought we'd have two obscure ones and one you guys had heard of, but it looks like you guys are...
I don't think Network Appliance is that obscure.
They're not that obscure. But it's just kind of funny that, I like to throw out some of the better ticker symbols that we have here.
We beat him, Mark. He tried to get something obscure on him.
I know.
Unless we beat him.
I will go deeper into the book next time, sir. You watch.
That'd be a fun game. find the stock that nobody in the group has heard of.
We've done that before. We've had a few names before where there have been head scratchers.
Been
All right, so that's going to do it for the old odd block. And with that, we're going to roll right into the strategy block.
The strategy block.
And welcome to the strategy block. This is the section of the show where usually I hand the reins over to the man from the mountains, Uncle Mike Toussaint. We're going to mix it up a little bit, and we'll have everyone's going to kind of jump into this one today. We'll be a group strategy block talking about the subject du jour, the subject of the day. That is, of course, the runaway rampage to the upside in SLV or silver. So without further ado, Uncle Mike from the mountains, would you get us started off, please, sir?
Well, the importance of days like today, the concerning thing about SLV is the fact that it went up so quickly. It didn't go up. A lot of the upside movement happened last night when the Easter Bunny was going long futures. And then with a lot of volume on SLV, I mean, it was huge volume today, we actually did not get any further progress. So at the open today, I remember just kind of joking around when people were calling, I'm saying silver hotline, just as kind of a joke. And throughout the day today, you can see silver pulling back a little bit. So the important message that I want to say before we get into any of this is just not to get too excited when you get this euphoric feel of something going higher. No matter what, no tree grows to the sky, folks, and you need to be careful and you need to have risk management no matter what. Silver has had quite the run up. Now, granted, when I rolled up my covered call for the millionth time the other day for our clients, I even set out in our group email, this is typically, I prefer not to roll up this much, but this is a bull I'm not going to fight. On the flip side, you need to be careful with anything that you do and understand that this thing can reverse at the drop of a hat. When you have a pullback on something that moves this much, a 10 to 12 to 15% pullback, it would not be a big deal in silver because of the fact that it's run up so much. Now, with me being the party pooper, Mr. Sebastian, what are some ways with which our traders can take advantage of such situations as we are in right now in silver?
Well, I've been staring at these options for the last 2 hours, and SLV, which is the silver ETF, has a ridiculous, what I would call kind of a breakout skew. And what that means is the puts are bid, but the calls are really, really bid. For instance, you can buy at the money volatility, which is about the 47 strike, the 46 or the 47 strike, was trading at around 47-48%. At the same time that those upside calls, the vol there right now is in the high 60s. It is insanely high. The vol is so high that the May 62s and 63 calls, which are a full 34% out of the money, okay, are trading at over a quarter with less than a month to trade, okay? So trades I'm looking at are trades where you buy kind of at the money options, which are themselves overpriced. But the way you hedge off that overpriced action is to sell extra upside. So trades I like right now are 1x2s and diagonals. So trade ideal 1, buy an at-the-money June or an at-the-money May call, and then sell an out-of-the-money April weekly call with a couple of days to go, and then an out-of-the-money April weekly call when the new one comes on. And each of those, about 10% out of the money, you can collect 30 cents on. Okay? So if we continue to get this vol and this rally, you could theoretically rally 9%, take in that premium of 30 cents, rally another 10%, take in that 30 cents, rally another 10%, take in that 30 cents, and produce a lot of value in your pocket very quickly. The trade I like even better takes a little margin, but is probably worth it. You buy at the money and then sell 2 or maybe even 3 upside calls against it. Now, there are risks there. All right. As soon as you start buying one and selling two, you're adding some unlimited risk to the position. But if I can buy the May 47 calls for $2.05 and sell two of the May 62 calls at 25 cents, I basically own that 47 call for $1.60, okay? And I cannot lose money below $77, which would be nearly doubling the price of silver in about 28 days. That's an opportunity that I'm going to have a lot of trouble resisting, because $1.60 for that call option is actually a price that makes some semblance of sense here. Okay,
so use the ratio to get back to sanity. Then
yeah, it's called the sanity ratio.
It's the reverse stupid.
Use the ratio. Another trade I was looking at, and this is one I put on my blog that I kind of like: buy a 47 call, sell a 51 call, sell a 56 call. You're long out to about $60, and you pay about 50 cents for that position. It's a really, really interesting trade, and one I kind of like. So those are, here's what I would say is buying upside, so buying anything above at the money, is probably not an advisable idea. It's probably not a great – I don't want to say about – it's probably the most unfavorable trade you can enter, okay? Trades that make a little more sense are call spreads – and even short put spreads make more sense than just going out and buying upside calls. It's just that's a horrible idea.
You saying my 60s for 30 cents are not going to pay off?
The funny thing is, who knows? They might. All right, give us a couple days.
What about for the heretics out there? I mean, obviously the premium is rich to the upside, and that's where you want to sell. But if there are have you looked at any downside ratios and strikes that are favorable for if the odd heretic who wants to put on the ratio to the downside instead?
Yeah, I mean, that's there too, but I actually think to the downside, the skew is not nearly as insane. And so
no, you're not getting that same pop, yeah.
No. So your standard put spread makes a lot more sense than a ratio. All right? And on top of that, I'd be a lot more worried about some sort of floor falling out from – because like Mike said, a 12% pullback from here in silver, not a big – if we could – that's still way above where we were trading 30 days ago, I think, right? So, I would be very wary of putting on any kind of major downside. Maybe like a broken wing butterfly would make some sense down there, or a standard butterfly. But your more normal put spreads kind of are what I would be looking at on that downside.
Now, let me ask you this, Mark. A couple other things you might want to look at. What would you on the like one thing that you had mentioned, it would require some margin to do some of those naked calls. If you have a futures account, you can definitely use futures options on silver. On silver futures options. But the other thing, what do you think of perhaps going long a silver futures contract with a stop loss in place, and then perhaps selling ratio covered calls, so to speak? So, for example, go long one silver contract and then sell two out of the money calls.
I think that's a great idea. That's a great idea. I think that could really, that's another one where you could really bring some bang to your buck, is going long the underlying and selling at. I mean, that's a great way of getting delta and getting short skew without owning any options, owning true volatility. I like that idea a lot, Mike, to tell you the truth. So another thing is for our pros, SLV and silver option and the silver futures options have a completely different set of customers. So our professionals that listen to us, there is going to be some arbitrage between the silver options and SLV rolling out there right now. I'm almost certain of it. So Wouldn't you think, Mark? There's got to be.
It seems to be reflected in the volume numbers we're seeing today. I was just parsing through the stats while we were talking. This is a name that's that's pushing about 250,000 contracts a day, and it'll gap up to 600, some odd 800,000. Today it did 1.4 million. So you're talking nearly 6 times the ADV. An ADV that's already inflated, and so that's got to be some arb right there, I would think.
Oh, there's got to be that there. I mean, I'm sure there's big smart investment houses dumping the futures, and then the market makers are just laying off the risk on the retail SLV traders.
Of course,
that's what I would.
Of course, there also is, like we talked before the show, there could be there's a lot of stupid paper floating around out there. Look at the upside. We're talking about in May, 11,000 of the May 60s went up today. Yeah. I mean, 2,000 of the 61s. I mean, 1,800 of the 66s. Yeah,
it's insane.
2,500 of the May 67 calls for 15 cents went up today. I mean, it's just I would hope beyond hope that the bulk of those are the sale end of a spread or sales, but who knows? This could be like Day of Rage all over again. People were lifting the 200 strike on oil, and look how well that worked out.
Yep.
Is there an impending Day of Rage I don't know about in silver coming up, Uncle Mike?
Not that I know of.
Or is it just day of celebration maybe instead of rage?
Mm-hmm.
I guess so.
Exactly.
I mean, there's so much paper going right now. I'm a silver bull, as I've said many times, but I feel bearish right now because I'm not that bullish. It's amazing.
Yeah, by comparison, you are a bear.
Less bullish. It's hilarious.
You have to fully drink the Kool-Aid or have none of it, sir.
I guess so.
And give back
the sugar-free stuff that I send out doesn't work anymore. I guess. Who knows?
Give back all those silver profits you've made at the door when you leave, because if you're fully into the cult, are you allowed to keep what you have?
Oh, the only thing it was funny. I remember last fall, I was at a presentation, just a little local presentation in the Chicago area, and there was a guy there talking about how great silver was, and he was talking how it was going to double and triple and that type of thing. And I remember I spoke after him, and I'm like, well, my opinion of it's at 18 right now. I could see, if I'm really bullish, maybe 23, 24 over the course of the next year. But
wow,
you're just crazy, sir. I remember telling him that, and well, God bless them.
What were we just talking about a few months ago on the show, where you were saying how uncomfortable you were getting in at 26?
Yeah.
You wanted no part of it at 26. I mean, that's a rational reaction. I completely understand what you were saying there. And that was maybe February. I mean, it is insane.
Yeah, it's the worst thing you can ever do the thing that I hate doing is getting back into something after I've been snookered as a covered call, so to speak, and got called out of something. But I did it with silver, and that's still the best thing that I'm in right now. It's amazing. It's the weirdest thing.
You broke your own rules, and you're happy you did, sir.
Well, it wasn't a rule. It was never a rule, just something I hate doing, because that means the market beat me. And as we all like to do, we all like to have the illusion that we can actually control the market, which anyone who has half a brain knows that that's not the case.
All right, that was a good one. We're going to close out this strategy block segment and roll right into Around the Block.
Around the Block.
And welcome to Around the Block. This is where we talk about, surprise, surprise, what's coming up around the block on our respective trading screens. Before we get into all that, just to finalize the old Around the Block, the Netflix preview, or review, I should say. The sell-off has continued. It's a little bit milder now. It's gotten down to about 241 now, so down about 10 points in the after hours. But in the annals of Netflix movements, that is absolutely nothing. So we were talking earlier about the straddle buyers out there, and if you were one of the ones who finally drank the Kool-Aid, as they say, and dove into the long premium side of Netflix for this earnings, looks like that didn't pay out maybe the way you hoped. And also, before the open tomorrow, we have Ford coming up. And I know, Uncle Mike, you're a big Ford bull. So what are you guys doing to prepare for Ford? Or what did you do today to prepare for Ford ahead of the announcement tomorrow?
Well, with our clients, we have the ones that we've gotten in more recently and the ones that we've had in for a while. The ones that we've had in for a while, we just have 17 covered calls on. So if let's assume that the 17 covered call expires worthless, our basis on Ford then goes to about 16. Like I said, not exactly, but about 16. So we're really not going to do too much with that. We're just going to kind of wait it out and then see where we go from there. The other set of clients that we have that we've gotten in a little bit later, we're short the 14 puts. If Ford goes down 10%, I'm more than happy to own it at 14. So we're kind of at two opposite ends of the spectrum with different people we've gotten in at different times. So we're not doing too much on it, but I will be watching eagerly and waiting to see what Ford says to say.
Yeah, so you're on both ends of the spectrum. We were playing around that 14 strike quite a bit as well, just for the same reason. Ford below 14 is, on any sort of downside or vertical, anything like that, it's not a bad place to be. The premiums are relatively hefty. The vol was decent, and like I said, if you have to end up holding on to the underlying for a little bit, there are worse places to have it than below the 14 handle. So let's see, any other earnings you guys are paying attention to tomorrow?
Nothing tomorrow. I'm watching. I don't have anybody in it, but I am going to be watching Microsoft this Thursday. I'm curious to see just with if there's like a continuation with Microsoft later this week with the other tech companies doing what they've done. I think that'll be kind of interesting. That Microsoft, technically speaking, it's at a level where it could be forming a triple bottom. And I don't have any positions on it, so I'm not putting my money where my mouth is on it. But I think that is going to be something that's going to be pretty interesting.
Microsoft's been such a dog for so long, though, not just in the underlying, but in any sort of volatility perspective. There's no doing any sort of credit spread out there. You get such little volatility, such little bang for your buck that it's been it hasn't been the most attractive for options traders in recent years. I'll just say that. I guess unless you want, like I said, if it's hitting a triple bottom and you want to get long here and do some upside rights on it, or that might play out. Here's exactly why I just discovered why Mr. Grigas and company are not on today, of course, because they have earnings before the open tomorrow, and I think compliance was afraid they would speak out of turn. I think the mighty fist of Schwab came in and said, "No, you cannot speak ahead of earnings." So if listeners are wondering where Mr. Grigas and the rest of the Options Express team are, they are conspicuously absent before earnings today. Yeah, and then other names coming out this week. Today was a pretty strong day in terms of earnings. Tomorrow after the close, we also have Amazon, obviously another high flyer, and seems to move very much in inverse or sometimes in lockstep even with Netflix these days. So if you're playing in Netflix, I imagine you're playing in Amazon as well. Similar premium levels, similar underlying levels of movement lately. It'll be interesting to see after Netflix, the high flyer has kind of come off his perch, and maybe Amazon can usurp it a little bit and take the ball and run. I do kind of like some of the changes they've been making in Amazon lately. They're kind of, in terms of tech companies, they're one of the more exciting ones to watch, which who would have thought you would say that from an online retailer? But I mean, they're making plays.
I know,
they're making plays everywhere. They're making plays in streaming video. I mean, they're making plays across the way in hardware and devices. I mean, it's just everywhere you look is Amazon doing something else interesting these days. Of course, they did have a huge outage a couple days ago too. You're on Amazon, aren't you, Mark? Were you affected by that?
Yep. Not at all.
Okay, so good to know.
So, yeah.
You were one of the few who escaped the massive outage going on there at Amazon.
Yeah, well, no, we're in a different thing because we upload to their S3 service, but we do initially keep everything local, and we actually back up everything on a hard drive. So at no point would I ever not have access to a webinar if I needed one.
Oh, so you just use the S3 for storage then? You're not running the site off it per se?
No, we run the site off of it, but we can actually link it into our storage side if we need to. So we have what we like to call redundancy, which I like.
A term I often use to describe you as well, sir. But then
Mark, the redundant Sebastian.
The redundant Seabass, yes. No.
Yep.
But yeah, anything else you guys are watching for the next couple sessions before Thursday?
Nothing crazy in particular.
No, I'd be curious to see when does the Fed speak? I think they're coming out, was it tomorrow
right?
End of the week it is?
I thought so, but you might be right. Maybe it's Wednesday?
Earnings have so usurped the economic calendar right now.
Well, the economic calendar has been usurped by the fact that economics don't seem to matter. You know?
Yeah, Wednesday is when
once the market shrugs off the S&P downgrade, and what else can you throw at it at that point?
Exactly. I mean, seriously. I mean that is just so telling of the market. The market's ability to ignore a possible U.S. debt downgrade is, incredible. So.
Yeah, and Mike, the FOMC is on Wednesday. So
Okay,
so we'll have that
tomorrow for listeners out there.
Even if there is a quote-unquote surprise rate hike, which I would be surprised at, but I think some people have already started pricing those in, so that wouldn't be the it's certainly not the tumult that an S&P potential downgrade would be, and yet we shrugged that off. So, and we're back higher up since then. So at this point, like I said, I've said before, I don't know what can derail the bulls, but we'll see. Maybe a slate of negative earnings will be enough to do that. All right, so I think that's going to close out this episode of the old option block. I want to thank my partners in crime here. We'll just give one last Netflix look. It's down to 240, so it's drifting ever slightly south ever since we started talking about it, but nothing at all dramatic compared to what we've seen out of Netflix. So that's going to do it for the old option block. I want to thank my partners in crime here, starting off with the man from the mountains, good old Uncle Mike Tusa. What is coming up at Know Your Options Inc., sir?
A couple things in the coming weeks, we are going to have webinars introducing a lot of our new people, and we're excited about that. In particular, I have a couple webinars coming up this Sunday and Monday night on option time frame selection. Should I buy a front month at the money? Should I buy a 4 month in the money? Should I buy a 6 month out of the money? We'll be going through the pros and the cons of those decisions. And then we'll do our classic, still our best selling webinar. I guess we don't sell it, so it's not really a sales thing, but our most attended webinar on strike price selection on Monday night. And they'll be at our usual time at 9:30 p.m. Eastern time.
Well, that's a great topic. Everyone wants to come in and wants to learn more about how to pick where to get in, where to get out. So I'd imagine something like strike price, and it's kind of evergreen too. You can keep doing that over and over again. There's always a new supply of people looking to learn about that and become more familiar with things like skew and other things that impact that strike selection. And then you, sir, Mr. Greasy Meatball, what is going on over at the old pit?
We are crazy busy right now. Tomorrow, I am flying to New York to go to thestreet.com. On Wednesday night, I am presenting a webinar. It's free to the world. It's on using the VIX as a hedging product. Thursday morning, I fly to Naples, Florida. I'm going to be making a live appearance in Naples at Stonebridge Country Club. If you want to come see me live and just meet me and you live in the Florida area, shoot me an email or give me a call, and I'll be happy to put you on the registration list. Now, this is kind of exciting. In the wake of my webinar for thestreet.com, on May 7th, that's a Saturday, myself and Russell Rose from the CBOE Options Institute are going to be presenting Trading the VIX at the Chicago Board Options Exchange. The cost of the webinar, I think, is $359. It's going to be really, really, really good, really intensive. If you want to learn about the VIX, all right, and you want to really learn how to trade the VIX and kind of a lot of the idiosyncrasies, we're going to hit on everything. The uniqueness of the ETNs, the futures, the options, a lot of different subjects. You're going to learn a ton. You're going to see case studies of using the VIX and the VIX futures. That is going to be the thing to come see. And this is kind of my tryout with the SIBO, whether they're going to have me back. So if you are a supporter of what I do, and I've been looking for an opportunity to sign up for something I'm doing, this is actually would be a really, really good time to jump in. So if you like me, all right, and you want to learn a lot about the VIX, this is going to be a really, really good opportunity to do so, and totally worth the money. You can see it live in person if you live in Chicago, or you can see it via the web. It's going to be simulcast, so should totally be worth it.
I know the SIBO often likes to bundle in, floor tours and that sort of thing for the people who show up in person. Are they doing anything like that?
It's a Saturday, so
okay.
I'm sure.
It'd be kind of a boring floor tour on a Saturday.
But here's what I'll tell you: if you come in Chicago and you say you're an Option Block listener, after the webinar, I'll buy you a beer at Cactus across the street.
Buy them a nice mixed drink at Ceres. At least they'll get their money's worth.
Ceres is closed. Ceres is closed.
Oh, Saturday,
on Saturdays, isn't it? So we'll go to Cactus across the street. I'll buy you a delicious delectable appetizer, and I'll buy you a beer or two just for and I'll be happy to rap with you guys.
So listeners, be sure to mention that. Make them buy you the pricier appetizers
and there's
on the old Cactus list.
And there's a place to find out what to say where you heard it, and if you say either Option Pit / Option Insider, that's big huge. So say both, okay? Because it makes Mark look good too, which is what we want.
There we go. The better I can look, the better we all look. So there we go. And with that, we're going to close out this episode of The Option Block. I want to thank all of the usual suspects for joining me on the show, including our disembodied OX friends who could not make it today due to all sorts of issues they're having over there with their Wi-Fi. But hopefully we'll get it sorted out by Thursday, and they'll be back on again shortly. And of course, if you want to hear more about any of the unusual activity or the breaking options news or analysis or anything else we didn't have time to discuss in length on the show today, then surf on over to theoptionblock.com. Of course, you can also post a question or a comment for our hosts in the Option Block forum. Just hit the forum tab and scroll on down to the Option Block section. Or, of course, you can shoot us DMs on Twitter, twitter.com/options, or send us direct questions at theoptionsinsider.com, or even leave us a voicemail, 312-544-9356. We want to hear from you, and if you're interested in joining our quote-unquote live studio audience, send us your Skype handle, and we'll set you up. And thanks again for downloading and subscribing and listening to this show and making it such a success. Oprah, we are indeed coming for you, and we'll see you next time right here on The Option Block.
The Option Block is sponsored by Options Express. When a broker emerges to lead an industry like Options Express, it's only natural to want to join them. Options Express has excelled with powerful technology, an innovative platform, and exceptional customer service. Others wonder what they'll do next. Stocks, options, and futures all in one account. Visit optionsexpress.com/OXradio for your free account. Options and futures involve risk and are not suitable for all investors. Please read the characteristics and risks of standardized options and the risk disclosure statement for futures and options, both available by calling 1-888-280-8020 or visiting www.optionsexpress.com and clicking on the Risks and Policies link. Options Express, Inc. makes no investment recommendations and does not provide financial, tax, or legal advice. The views and opinions expressed on the Option Block are not those of Options Express or the Options Insider Incorporated and are strictly provided for educational and informational purposes only. Any mention of specific stock options, futures, or other investment products is not intended to portray a recommendation to buy or sell a particular security. Options Express Incorporated is a member of FINRA, SIPC, and NFA. The preceding program was a presentation of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com/radio or search for Options Insider Radio in iTunes.